that she quit the team, because in my eyes, that's definitely what she did. And it looked like Alyssa Thomas will be getting fined for doing this in Indianapolis. Guys, for this one here, they just refuse to talk to the media, which is so freaking weird to me. Kind of, making a complete fool of herself, and now she's finna be getting fined.
The WNBA recently banned Alyssa Thomas for her startling actions during the most recent game. Yes, you read correctly. Come on, consequences are bound to occur if you've been in the league long enough to memorize the rules, yet still choose to act untouchable and change the rules. You can't simply keep having tantrums like you're in charge of everything without someone stepping in. Can you?
So Alyssa Thomas had all the schmo.
The WNBA just suspended Alyssa Thomas. Yes, you heard correctly. But let's examine what actually transpired before drawing any conclusions. Although it's a dramatic allegation meant to grab your attention, it's difficult to believe that Alyssa's actions during the most recent game won't have serious repercussions, given how ridiculous they were.
Just normal smoke. It wasn't just normal beef. It was what people from the country will call Dublin. She had the big smoke.
Outlawed? Not quite yet. However, there is a significant chance of future fines and suspension. Let's examine how Alyssa's behavior, some of which were wholly inappropriate for a professional athlete, could end up costing her dearly.
But it turns out, I saw this post here, 2025 WNBA media access policy states no later than 10 minutes following the game.
Let's start by discussing the game itself. It was a major matchup that was dramatic, high stakes, and emotional. However, it wasn't the plays, the score, or even the fact that her team lost that actually made a difference. Alyssa's conduct, both on and off the court, was unprofessional.
Each head coach and 2 players, leading scorer and key contributor per team, be available in separate press conference room for in-person Zoom meetings.
When she violated a crucial WNBA rule and then reaffirmed it in front of the world, she became embroiled in a huge scandal. Her refusal to speak to the media following the game was the first infraction.
It's looking like Alyssa Thomas and the Phoenix Mercury are going to be fined because she just said nah. She just said nah. And I'm sorry, you can't have all the smoke. You cannot.
Players must be available for interviews within 10 minutes of the game, according to a new regulation in the WNBA. This regulation is in place to guarantee that spectators gain knowledge about the game, the dynamics of the team, and the viewpoints of the players. However, Alyssa Thomas disregarded this guideline entirely. No apology, no news conference, nothing. Nothing but quiet. Furthermore, this wasn't a spontaneous act of disobedience. We are discussing a blatant violation of professional conduct.
You cannot be allegedly telling fans DeWanna chose to join a real basketball team. You cannot be saying stuff like that and then hide. I'm sorry, Alyssa Thomas, I mean this when I say this.
Players may become irritated, but there are severe repercussions for breaking media rules. Alyssa's behavior was disrespectful to the WNBA as a whole, not just to her fans or the media. Public interaction is essential to the league's success, so staying silent following a well-known game is more than simply a bad impression. It conveys the idea that you are above the law. Every journalist, fan, and even her teammates are now left wondering why she chose not to accept the truth.
But Alyssa Thomas, her partner, who was the high scorer on the Mercury, did decide not to go to the post-game interview, of which the Mercury were fined for her not doing so.
Alyssa did more than simply step over the line when she violated this policy. She almost leaped over it. For the WNBA, adherence to the rules is not enough. It concerns the league's integrity and the athlete's representation of it. To make matters worse, this was more than a small mistake. Her act of resistance was dramatic and obviously intended to make a point, but it wasn't a business-related one.
And at least she's woman enough to admit it. Now, the viewership numbers was released.
Let's now discuss the ramifications. It's like that. When you cross boundaries in sports, don't let the media and fans forget it. Avoiding a news conference wasn't the only thing Alyssa was doing. She was disregarding those who had contributed to the advancement of her profession. Following a major game, fans want to hear what their stars have to say, particularly when the game is tense and emotionally charged. However, Alyssa decided to ignore them. Furthermore, the impact was not limited to the media. She leaves her coaches and teammates to pick up the pieces.
All day. You say last night presentation of 2024 WNBA Finals rematch, the Liberty and the Lynx was the third most watched non-Indiana Fever game this season.
The consequences were immediate. A fine will probably be imposed on the Phoenix Mercury, and that's only the first step. The WNBA has a long history of holding players accountable, and teams are not above the law. It's possible that Alyssa was unaware of the potential consequences of her conduct. These matters are not taken lightly by the WNBA. The least of her concerns are fines. Who knows what might happen if she continues in this direction? Possibly even a suspension or worse.
But it's okay to acknowledge that the Fever are in a class of their own when it comes to TV rating. Duh! Great news. WNBA viewership is up 21%. The full 2024 season rundown, FYI.
However, the heat wasn't limited to the media. Her disobedience was met with disapproval from many of her followers, who were left in the dark. As the team's captain, Alyssa's decision to avoid the media suggested that she might not be as responsible as her admirers initially believed. For a player her caliber, that is a risky precedent. Fans anticipate openness. They anticipate sincerity, and they will react if you leave them hanging. Additionally, Alyssa's situation won't be pleasant. This disobedience was about more than just not speaking, as is now evident. It was a declaration that stretched the bounds of what the WNBA considers appropriate. It's possible that Alyssa's actions permanently harmed her reputation. It has also caused a significant dispute that is still developing, at the very least.
Look, listen. Now, y'all see Caitlin Clark standing right there like, come on.
After the most recent game against the Indiana Fever, Alyssa Thomas wasn't merely dodging the press. She also played a significant role in a contentious fan backlash against former Fever star Dana Bonner. When Dana entered the court, the alcohol began to flow. Fans weren't the only ones enmeshed in it, either.
Well, nobody crying about it. This caption said, if the Fever are not soft, we embrace the smoke. And if they boo us, here is how we handled it.
By choosing to clap back at the crowd jeering Bonner, Alyssa Thomas heightened the already antagonistic mood. Nor was it merely a clapback. Alyssa enthusiastically interacted with the audience, promoting alcohol consumption. This was not a singular instance of annoyance. It was a well-considered response to a circumstance from which she was obviously not retreating.
Kind of, making a complete fool of herself, and now she's finna be getting fined because she refused to speak to the media. Now, I believe Angel Reese...
As is customary when a player like Dana Bonner returns to a former home court following an unexpected departure, the fans' response was boisterous and intense. The fact that Alyssa's interaction with the audience wasn't intended to promote her teammate, however, just served to exacerbate the problem. It was more about making the animosity more intense.